RocketJump. Thanks. Hey. Are you filming? You got some mail. Hey guys, I'm Ben.
And I'm Adam.
We made a show on Instagram called Blark and Son. Yes, son?
I didn't say anything.
Don't you lie to me.
I'm not!
Last video we talked about the characters and the writing. And we'll be discussing the world of Blark and Son in this episode and how we kind of made the sets and it all come together. So the sets for Blark and Son, everything was built in 3 days. Son's room, Blark's room, Son's computer here, and then the other set is the moon set. So everything that you see in Blark and Son's room tells a little bit of a story. Most everything in Blark's room is like worn. We sanded it or roughed it up in some way so it looks like it's really been around. You know, he's got a purple heart, which we don't have to say it. Now all of a sudden you know, okay, well he's a vet and he was hurt. It tells a little bit of story. Son has all kinds of not only locks, but just methods to keep his dad out. And that tells a story immediately about the relationship, that Son wants dad out and Blark wants to come into Son's room.
Dad?
Yes, son?
Are you just waiting by my door?
Visually, as soon as you see these things, you get it more than just hearing it, and I think that helps push the story along.
The room rules change every episode. So basically every episode, Son has new room rules on his door. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't, but they give you a little glimpse into what he's thinking, and some of them even match what the episode is about.
Hey, son, what are you doing? Honestly, there's
know
probably
what
not
they
a lot of gold in there, but at least they're unique, you know?
Yeah, at least it's different. At least it's different every time.
The main difference, aside from the scale in creating a set for puppets and a set for live action, is typically only what you see is made. Literally only what you see is what we make and what is there. So if you pulled the frame back just a little bit, it just falls apart. You know, so that's like kind of the biggest difference there, is that you only make a few things.
Gotten a little farther on the bed here, you can kind of see how it's coming along. Now, I'll show you what's underneath this. It's just a piece of wood with foam on top that I kind of carved down so it has a rounded edge, kind of like a mattress would have. And then with the sheet over it, it looks a lot like a real bed. Son needs a dresser in his room. Using these wooden boxes they sell at Michael's craft store, just these plates here, I'll be making a dresser. So you'll see that come together. All right, so let's take out the little dresser that I'm making. It's coming along, and as soon as I stain this with this stain, it's a wood stain here, and then we can pop it into the set, you know, right in there with handles on it. We'll put some stuff on top, and it's going to really help dress the set as a room. You can see the dresser that I was building earlier has come together, and it looks really good. It's just simple, you know, those boxes kind of put together with this top on it, and these drawers. These are just handles we got from the hardware store that we just glued directly on there, not even screwed in. So it's a simple way to make something look good very quickly. So here we're kind of just aging and you know, setting the stage for Son's desk set. All we're going to see is just the desk and the wall here. So, you know, putting some things like stickers on it, scratching it up a bit, making it look like there's been a kid sitting here. I remember when I was a kid.
Bored.
Yeah, a bored kid.
Waiting for his games to load.
So the moon set, for example, is just two pieces of wood kind of like glued together at a little bit of an angle. So we are on the moon set here for Blark and Son. You can see it's only what it needs to be. You know, we're only going to see this much of it when you see Blark's angle.
That's the best. How was moon school?
And then I went to Home Depot and just found things that I thought could be kind of cool and work well for the production design. So vents and fans and tubing are like a simple concept that a kid would be like, oh, that's future.
See, here we have our moon. We bought this for like 20 bucks at Toys R Us. Lights up, waxing, waning. We're gonna put it against like a starry background and then have this, and this will be our exterior moon shot. I love that shot because it's just a toy moon, and behind it is essentially a square of duvetine with holes poked in it, and
it's just fiber optics going through it, which is basically, it's just like a thin plastic string that when you shine light through one end, the light travels through it and will actually come out the end of it. So if you have the ends of those fiber optics poking through your duvetine, it's gonna look like space.
That was a practical effect. You know, when it could have been CGI, we could have pulled just like a high-res image.
For puppet props in general, you know, someone just says, oh, the puppet picks this thing up and holds this. And I go, what do you mean it holds this? What do you mean a puppet holds this? It doesn't hold anything.
Son, I found my old magic 8-ball in the attic. Ask it a question.
So everything that a puppet holds, it has to hold a puppet as well. So the 8-ball that Blark is holding in the one episode, I had to custom drill a hole in the bottom and sharpen a piece of metal that's super glued into the bottom so that I could stab it into his hand so that it didn't move around while he shook it. There was another prop that appears in only one episode, which is a gamer headset that Son wears.
Is it gonna be too big?
I basically ended up cutting the top of the headphones off and then gluing the edges together to make a smaller version of that headset.
You see, the glue acts as a glue between the two objects, forming one object.
And then if you peel back a little bit of the foam, there's like a hole that I could shove a pin through so I could pin the headphones onto his head.
So then Son starts having. Where is this going?
All right.
So for instance, things like Son's mouse. This is just a store-bought mouse that I'm not sure why anyone would use, but it works for Blark and Son. And the keyboard is a store-bought keyboard. So like things like that we could find in store was just like a huge help for production design because we didn't have to hand make everything.
This computer was bought 10 hours before we had to film with it because we just couldn't find a monitor that was less than 17 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, lighting the set.
The bulk of the light is from his computer monitor. You know, he's sitting in this dark room and it's just flashing onto his face. So when you see Blark come into Son's room, that light flashes on his face. And the same is said for the warm light that is the hall light that is on that kind of spills in when he opens the door into Son's room. You see that on Son's face.
1, 2, 3.
Blark and Son aren't the only characters in the show. The door is a character. And because the door is such a character in the show and it's opening up all the time and closing, behind the door is where all the light that isn't Son's private little bubble. One, we have some cool lighting to be able to cut back and forth between when there's movement happening on Son's face. And two, to be able to very obviously disturb Son's world.
You're letting the cold air out of my room.
5 days, 40 episodes, multiple sets, multiple shots, lots to do. We just had to shoot each set out as its own thing and then just kind of moved our way across the room.
There was no way to do it any other way. It was a matter of time. Again, we told our DP, we said, okay, this is how much we have to do. This is what needs to be done. And he said, okay, you need to shoot every single angle out. I can never revisit another angle because that's just going to eat up time. So what we did is we made essentially a table on Google Docs that just had every single angle and how many times we visit that angle, and then we just went through every single episode. I mean, you look at these sets and you're like, how do you film something on here that actually is a world? And then when you, like you said, like you just build what you need to see, and then when you take just what you need to see and plug it in with all the other stuff, it starts working. And I remember being really relieved at that moment.
You know, I used to work in a mine.
Oh, God.
You know, I was in a play once.
Oh, God.
You know, I sold loot once.
Thank you guys so much for checking out our process and creating the show Blark and Son. If you want to see the show and haven't seen it, it's all available right now. Check it out on Instagram, Blark and Son.
Thank you so much for sticking around.
Nailed it. Hey, thanks for watching RocketJump Film School. I hope you learned how to jump on rockets. Whoa, rocket jump.